Hey everyone, today I'm going to be trying a new style of video. We're going to go through and look at the top 15 MOCs made in July 2025. Now this list will be made from the LEGO Star Wars subreddit. So I'm going to take the top 15 most upvoted sets from that subreddit in the month of July. There's so many good MOCs on here that deserve more attention. So that was some of my idea behind this video, but in general I think it's just fun to talk about MOCs and see what other people made. And so you'll have to let me know down below if you want this series to continue, as this is my first video doing this. With all that out of the way though, let's get into it and look at number 15. The 327th Star Corps Commander Bly Bust. This MOC is really cool. Most of the time everyone just makes vehicles and that from the shows and movies, but seeing a character bust like this is pretty cool, especially this scale. I think they did a really good job also. Commander Bly is just a very interesting character. Like, he has a lot of different markings and details on him, making him one of the more interesting clones to build. So I think that also kind of makes this MOC extra cool. Plus, I really like the bottom portion, how he added the minifigures and kind of a scene from Felucia that I really like. It's just a bit more creative than just the bust. However, talking about that bust specifically, there is an amazing level of detail on this build. Very smooth, the chest looks perfect, and really everything does. You can tell this creator spent a lot of time on it. The pauldron is spot on as well, and I think looks really cool. Then there's also this helmet, which somewhat looks like it's inspired by Captain Rex's helmet that LEGO released. There is definitely some changes to it, especially obviously in the color palette, but still, really cool build. And a great one to start off the list. Number 14 is an AAT. This build takes the set we got from, actually, I think that's quite a few years ago, 2021, I believe, and kind of revamps it. It makes the build actually good. It keeps a lot of the same structure, but it just removes a lot of the extra studs. And then on top of that, more importantly, it resizes and shapes that top head of the tank and also those arms. They're a lot more in scale with what they should be and look so much better because of it. A far superior build from what we saw from LEGO. It's actually a very well-sized build, and I think it shows off that the scale they went with wasn't the issue, but the building method was, as the proportions were just all kinds of wrong on that set. This MOC fixes that problem, and is one that I kind of want to recreate for myself. Or I'll just hope that LEGO actually corrects themselves and makes this the new set. I still think those big curved pieces on the bottom are a bit too big, and the older piece was better, but besides that, I do really like this MOC and how it revamps an old, heavily criticized set. Number 13 is a really fun one. It's an automatic wings for Anakin's Interceptor. Automatic might not be the right word, but that's what this builder calls it. In reality, it's just a little piece on the back that you can twist and unfold the S-foils. That is a really cool play feature though that I'm surprised LEGO hasn't attempted for themselves. I guess it makes enough sense though because this ship is very small and it'd be hard to fit all of that in there. I love these kind of features in LEGO sets. LEGO's kind of gotten away from them for quite a while. I'd say they were really good at it in the early 2000s. Maybe they'll make their way back at some point. I can only hope. But for now, more MOCs like this are going to have to come out. Number 12 is the Fondor Haulcraft. And not just a small one either. This is a big one. I mean, this first picture shows it in scale with the Falcon, and man, this took some time and effort. I can't imagine how much time he poured into this, but it was really worth it. They did a wonderful job building it. They even included a minifigure lineup for it, which is really cool. I'm really bummed we're probably not going to see many more sets, or any really, from Andor now that it's over. So these custom figures are actually pretty neat to see. This picture also gives you a great view of the front profile of this build, which has a lot of detail. One thing I do notice though is those wings are definitely starting to sag, which is somewhat unavoidable. Maybe you could have added some more Technic in there. Not trying to pick this build apart, but there's quite the curve there, which is just unavoidable. LEGO even has that problem on their own UCS sets they release, like the UCS Vendors engines. This model is just gigantic and really well done. Number 11 is the Midi scale Fondor Haulcraft. This one though is one I've actually kind of been wanting to make for a while. It's an alternate build of the Midi scale Millennium Falcon. I've kind of thought about this for a while too, of where I felt like the Falcon totally could have been made into a Fondor Haulcraft. and it looks like someone's beat me to the punch, and they did a great job. I might have to go out and build this for myself. This builder did a fantastic job. And I think I like this scale even better than the UCS version. In general, I'm a big fan of the Midi scale line, the Starship collection. So I think this just hits that itch perfectly, especially for Andor. And I mean, this ship's cool, but I don't necessarily need a UCS model of it. Just something small like this to show off would be pretty cool. Plus, I think it works better, especially with those wings. That, like I said, you're going to have a lot less sagging in a model this size. Pretty cool, and one I might actually have to build for myself. Number 10. There are so many good builders on this page. This next Snail Droid MOC is amazing. Another one that I actually really want for myself. It's so well done. And I love the fact that they went in the classic colors of the light tan for the droid army. This droid has a very mechanical look that I love about it. Most of the time, LEGO kind of just cheaps out on that side dish and either just puts a big one there that's plain. One time we did get a printed one, which was nice, but I think this is actually the best version I've ever seen of it. Having actual brick-built details like that feels great. It also looks a lot more mechanical. Makes this droid feel a lot more real. And he actually shows a picture of it opened up. It's quite a substantial build. LEGO should take notes because for our next Snail Droid, I would love something that looks like this. In this last picture the guy included, he actually has two other MOCs of his. An AAT and a Vulture Droid, which also look pretty good as well. The Vulture Droid especially looks really cool. This post was mainly just about the Snail Droid though, so I'll try and focus on that. Which, again, really cool. At number 9, we have Every Clone is Greeble. And I don't want to trash on anyone's MOC, but I've never been a big fan of this set, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of cool to see all the different clones, but I feel like the colors in the background washes them all out. I personally just prefer a more traditional display. Not trying to hate on this build, but that's just me personally. One thing I do love, though, is the color greebling. I love it when people just take all the random pieces of one color and shove them together. And especially when you look at all the different pieces there, you might not notice them all individually at first, but eventually you start to pick some of them up. Like in the white section, there's a skeleton body. In the orange, you see a pumpkin. Red, there's some fin flippers. Blue, there's even a jetpack. I love the greebling details in the back. Some of those clones are really cool too. They're not all official LEGO. Some of those are custom. So pretty cool, just not one that gets me overly excited. The next MOC's kind of in that same vein. This builder made the mistake of taking off Grogu's head and putting him on the Piranha Plant set, and vice versa. Man, that Piranha Plant head on Grogu looks cursed. I don't know which one's worse. They're both pretty disturbing. Reminds me of Sid from Toy Story, mixing around all the parts. This was not me as a kid. I was keeping all my sets separate and together on their own, never mixing and matching, which I know some people think of that as sinful, but that's just how I was and always have been. Not a lot of effort put into this MOC, but a fun idea. Seventh is the Kashyyyk Master Builder series, which, wow. This guy went all out for this MOC. He even created box art and everything for it. This is really cool. A set like this would be awesome to get. It's never going to be made because it's super niche, but yeah, this would be really cool. A couple $100 for this set I would buy it right away. The inside of the tree even has a bunch of rooms to play around with. Such a good touch. He really went out and made this an entire set. Like it could go on shelves tomorrow. This creator did a really good job. One thing I don't understand is why Yoda is so small in these pictures. I also like the inclusion of Delta Squad. I don't know what game that is, but I'm pretty sure there's a video game where they take place on Kashyyyk. It's an old one, and I can't really remember it, so you'll have to forgive me or correct me in the comments, but that's a cool touch. In general, Kashyyyk's just a really fun landscape. I don't get why we haven't had more sets based on it. We've had, turbo tanks and whatnot, but besides the old ones from 2005, there hasn't really been any specific to Kashyyyk because turbo tanks can come from anywhere. So kind of a weird deal, and this set is really getting me going and getting me on that hype train for hopefully one day a Kashyyyk set that is actually somewhat substantial and pertains to the Wookiees more than the clones. It's probably a fool's dream, but you know, that's why we have MOCs like this to kind of have fun with and look at. The AT-DP from Star Wars Rebels, that's a really cool vehicle to see again. It's very unique. I really like it. It's a different type of walker that I wish we would get more of. LEGO doesn't seem to like to branch out much from the mainstream stuff, which I get it, but Star Wars Rebels has enough of a following. They should really try to revisit it. Getting back to this MOC though, this is awesome looking. Those stormtroopers really help set the scene and really make it cool. That mortar trooper is awesome looking. Such a good figure. And I love the rocket flying through the air. Very lively. To the main build though, the AT-DP looks awesome. It's honestly kind of an engineering marvel. I don't get how those legs are holding it up. I mean, look at those connection points right at the feet. How that holds up the entire build, I'm not really sure. I got to give my hats off to that guy because that's pretty impressive. The legs aren't very thick either. I mean, and there's probably a good amount of weight in that head. He made it completely smooth and put a lot of effort into it, so I'm sure it's heavier than you think. This is a great scale though and great detail. I really like it. It's not too over the top. It's just enough. A very well done build. Number 5 is another alternative build, a really cool one actually, of the new turbo tank. Even though this set's a big flop, this alternative build is awesome. What he was able to do with all those bricks in that set is quite spectacular. He stretched it out into a full Battle of Mygeeto. The only part of this set I would say that gives it away that it's an alternate build is the head of the Tri-Droid. And even that part of the build doesn't look that bad at all. But otherwise, there's a lot going on here. First off, you basically get this diorama which looks perfect. The gray bridge and the big holes on the side match the scene perfectly. I think what really sells the set though is the big columns on the side. I don't know what exactly those are, but they look really neat and they fit Mygeeto perfectly. It feels like the original Battlefront 2. Such a cool look and such a good build from the set. One that matches these clones and this Jedi a lot more than the turbo tank does. But those aren't the only builds included. As I mentioned, there's this Tri-Droid. This last build though, the turret, might be my favorite. It feels like a classic World War II turret, but it also fits LEGO Star Wars very well. And I like that he still included the stud shooters on the top. They look good, but they also are very functional in that way. I think it also just helps that the Galactic Marines just look way too cool and elevate this turret, making it look even cooler than it already was. But yeah, this MOC was a really good job. The next MOC is Plo Koon's Death Display. Taking the ARC 170 and combining it with a custom-made Plo Koon Starfighter. Yeah, that's going to make a good display piece, especially with this really cool custom stand. It looks like the ARC 170 was also modified somewhat. It actually seems to be quite a bit bigger than the playset, but he might have used that as a base, at least that's what it sounds like in his description. But this is just a really good build. I mean, a very cool scene. I think it also has gained a lot more interest with Plo Koon's exposure in the Clone Wars. Not to mention, I think the red and white ARC 170 work very well, contrasting with the blue Starfighter of Plo Koon. Plus, his has always just been one of my favorite. Alright, we have entered the top 3, and in the third spot, we have a Micro ATT, which is actually made to be in scale with the new turbo tank. How this MOC made it so on the list, I'm kind of surprised myself, but that's not to discredit it in any way. The build itself is very good for its scale. The ball joint for the legs was a very good call, and in general, I think it'd be very cool for a micro MOC. Something like a landing on point range, Geonosis, or really anything like that. However, the coolest part of this is it actually shows you the scale of the turbo tank. I mean, if you look at that in correspondence to the Micro ATT, that's quite the difference. I mean, that's the size of the wheel. This is an older turbo tank, so it would be smaller than that, but still, you got a pretty good idea going here. If anyone's ever played Battlefront 2, you know just how big it is, but I think having this kind of scale is pretty neat. And this is a fun little build to show that off. The second top-rated MOC of July was this little buildable Droideka. A good Droideka has been something we've been dearly lacking in LEGO Star Wars for basically ever. I feel like LEGO's only gotten worse with it throughout the years. The original one wasn't great, but I still think it's the best. So people have been making MOCs of this build for quite a while. This is probably one of the better ones I've seen. I think it's still a little big, and it could be condensed down, but detail-wise, it's pretty good. And I like how it still has all those functions, like it can curl into a ball, and some nice defensive plates on the back. Sometimes LEGO's actual builds somewhat lack in that department, as compared to this one, which is obviously heavily fortified and really captures basically every detail from the Droideka. Even the red eyes, that's a very good touch. Obviously that's a painted part or he modified that in some way, but still very cool. I wouldn't mind if LEGO did that themselves. They obviously have the resources for it, but we'll see. Maybe their next Droideka will be better. Hopefully it matches more like this one. Alright, number 1 is very interesting. It's an alternative build of the Republic Turbo Tank, made into the Senate Duel playset. People are running wild with this set because this was another great idea. Seeing all those wheels now, it makes perfect sense to make those into Senate pods. Are they as big as they should be to scale? No, but it works perfectly for a playset. And this is actually a really good template for a real LEGO set, as even for an alternative build, this is really good. I love the middle stand showing off the Chancellor's main chair. Very well detailed and looks perfect. And again, those Senate pods behind it are very well done. It looks very cool seeing them all together like that. I will say the background in that area is probably the worst part of the MOC, but you have to cut corners somewhere when you're doing an alternative build like this, especially when you're going this big and also including the Chancellor's office, which was a good call because that's where the duel starts. And that area looks really nice and cleaned off. That's where they obviously used most of their tiles for the build. This could have been the $160 set instead of the turbo tank. Obviously cleaned up a little bit, and I would have been really happy. This is a very fun idea. Hats off to the builder for thinking of this MOC. Very well done. Alright, and with that is the top 15 MOCs made in July 2025. Now again, this was my first time ever making this kind of video, so if you want to see more like this, let me know in the comments. I'd love to run this back next month too. It's actually pretty fun looking at what all of you created. It was actually very fun looking at what the community created. So coming back in a month, I think would be worthwhile, but you guys have to respond and let me know if that's something you want to see. Let me know your favorite MOCs down in the comments. If I had to pick mine, it'd probably be the Battle of Mygeeto, the Senate Duel, and the Master Builders Kashyyyk MOC. Honestly, they were all really good though. Let me know in the comments your favorites. Like and subscribe for more, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.